Wow. I did not expect Mao to die like that. Like, him dying this early, I expected him to survive a lot longer. I cannot believe he's already gone. Man. I really, really wonder if C2 has made any other contracts in the past with other people. I really do want to know that, because the backstory of C2 and Mao, it's kind of sad. Mao pretty much lost everything when he was a kid, and C2 gives him a power, as we can see, and he can hear everybody's thoughts, and C2 is the only person that Mao cannot actually hear their thoughts of. So, like, the only person in the world that Mao couldn't hear was C2. And when you find this out in this episode, it is so sad, because the reason why he is like he is, the reason why he is so crazy, was because of the madness of hearing everybody's voice. I mean, let's factor this in, okay? If you were to walk into a town, okay, it doesn't matter, any town, and you have hundreds of people around you, even by cars passing by you or no matter what, just random people passing around you, and you can hear up to 500 meters of people around you, that's ridiculous range. And to hear all these different voices flooding into your mind, and you can't shut it off, that's terrible. That is really, really terrible. Because imagine what type of thoughts someone would hear every single day when they walk into town or something. Like, imagine the awful and horrific thoughts that you would possibly have to hear and listen to. And imagine trying to get rest if you live somewhere in the city. Imagine trying to get rest. You would hear random people pop up in your mind and start fucking talking in your ear pretty much. That would be hell on earth. And seeing how he kind of broke down, like, you know, how he's broken, is understandable now. Now I understand why he was listening to C2's voice the entire time on his earphones. Now I understand, because that's technically the only person he could not hear inside of his head, like, you know, read their thoughts. And so he was using that voice to drown out everybody else's voice, and it's really sad when you think about that. It really, really is. And that drove him to his twisted love for C2. And it's just like, oh my god, it really took me by surprise. It was a very sad episode, it was, because, I mean, this poor guy was put in this situation like he is because of circumstances with his life. And C2, also being a very compassionate and kind person, could not finish him off when she broke the contract off with him. So, technically, C2, at the end of the day, she kind of made the events worse for the poor person, because Mao got his powers from C2. I don't know necessarily exactly why he officially got his powers 100%. It wasn't really dived into completely, but he was still given his powers to, you know, perform the contract for C2, and he couldn't perform the contract, so C2 left him, and which in turn caused him to go crazy, hunt down C2, and we know the rest. The thing is if C2 would have killed him, it would have kind of stopped his suffering. And that is the main thing we could see from this. C2 got a lot of characterization, a little bit of development also in this episode. We find out that her personality, she is a kind and caring person. Like, she went out of her way to kind of sacrifice herself to save Lelouch. Lelouch's identity was about to be revealed by Mao in this episode, and she actually willingly goes and sacrifices herself and gives up her entire ordeal with, you know, her contract with Lelouch. She didn't give a shit about that. She was actually going to sacrifice herself to save Lelouch and his identity. So it shows you that she cares for people. Now, I don't know necessarily if she is an alien, a freaking Indian tribe person. I have no idea exactly what she is, even if she might be like a robot or something. I have no idea what C2 is, but nonetheless, she shows very human-like emotion. She cares for Lelouch, and she definitely cared for Mao. And she couldn't actually finish off Mao, even though she needed to. So it just shows you her compassion. And that right there most likely might play a major role later on in the future with a lot of different things. And the crazy thing was, we find out with this episode, is if you use your Geass over and over, it eventually affects you. Like, your Geass grows stronger. Now, this, once again, was not dived into. It was pretty much stated that the Geass can most likely drive you insane or devour you with its extreme power. And I'm just going to take an assumption. Right now, Lelouch has his Geass power in his eye. We know he uses his eye to manipulate people. I'm going to assume that if he constantly uses his eye over and over, he might eventually go blind. Is that possible? That might be possible. If he uses his power repeatedly, it might eventually have a negative effect on his body. I wonder if Geass does have negative effects. I mean, clearly Mal had a massive negative effect from that Geass power. He could not turn it off. It was always activated. He technically had no limitations, and so it really became a hindrance. And so I wonder if eventually Lelouch's power will grow that can do other things that it can't do at the moment. Like, what if his power eventually, not now, but eventually as it grows in strength, what if it can, you know, manipulate someone a second time? Is that possible? Is that really possible? That's the question I have to wonder right now, because if his Geass does get stronger over time, that makes me believe he can actually manipulate someone once again. And nonetheless, well, if it gets actually stronger by time, if it doesn't allow you to manipulate someone a second time, I'm guessing it might have longer and lasting effects. Maybe that's possible. Or maybe it could possibly kill someone if he uses his eye power. From the episode that explained, you know, Lelouch's Geass, he actually manipulates the brain. And, like, when he manipulates the brain, he causes, like, some form of damage inside the brain. So I wonder if eventually, if this power grows, could it actually damage the brain beyond repair? Is it possible that Lelouch might kill people with his eye ability, with his Geass? Possibility. So, episode overall sets up some different little setups for the upcoming near future. I mean, you have it to where the connection between C2 and Lelouch grows stronger in this episode, and that's the main thing you can get from this episode. C2 and Lelouch growing that bond. And right now, I'm definitely shipping those two. I definitely ship C2 and Lelouch completely together. I definitely do. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or not, wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.